Today's video will be about the combination function. The notation is A, C, B. A and B must be positive integers. Alright, but first let's revise factorials. This sign here means this is a factorial, and for A factorial, this evaluates to A times A minus 1 times A minus 2 and onwards all the way to 1. So for instance, 5 factorial evaluates to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But notice that I can take this sequence, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and I can write that as 4 factorial. So 5 times 4 factorial, or I can just take this, put it in a calculator, and get 120. Okay, so the combination function for ACB, the formula is A factorial over B factorial times A minus B factorial, the difference of A and B. So if I plug in 3C2, for example, I get 3 factorial over 2 factorial times 3 minus 2, 1 factorial. It's important to note that 1 factorial and 0 factorial are both equal to 1. So this is equal to 1. 3 factorial is, well, 3 times 2 factorial. 2 factorial. So these can cross out, leaving me with 3. Okay, so how is this useful? Well, let's say I give you a question. I have 10 adults, and I want to choose 6 adults from this group of 10. So I have 6 adults in this group. And I chose these adults from 10. So I can just write 10C6, which is 10 factorial over 6 factorial times 10 minus 6 is 4 factorial. And I can plug this into the calculator and get 210. What this tells me is that from 10 adults, I can choose 6 adults into a group in 210 ways. There are 210 ways to make that group. I say group because in this kind of formation, the order of the adults in question doesn't matter. If it matters, we'll have to use a different function called the permutation function, which will be in an upcoming video. But anyway, there are 210 ways to choose 6 adults. Now, if I choose 4 adults instead of 6, let's see. This would be 10C4, just 10 factorial, over 4 factorial times 10 minus 4, 6 factorial, which also gives me 210. What this tells us is that, well, notice that if I choose 4 adults, that only 6 adults remain. So if I choose 4 adults, that's the equivalent of me choosing 6 adults. Because if I choose 4 adults, I leave 6, and if I choose 6 adults, I leave 4. In other words, 10c6 and 10c4 are equal. Or in other words, 10ca is equal to, okay, acb is equal to ac a minus b. So here's the first rule. Now the second thing is that if I have 4 adults now, and I just choose one, well, it's common sense that if I have 4 adults and I can pick one, there are only 4 ways to do that. And we can prove it because 4c1 is just 4. So ac1 always just gives me a. This is the second rule. The third rule is that 4 adults, if there are 4 adults, and I choose none of them. This sounds silly, but, well, if you can't choose any of them, well, there's only one option, right? Not choosing anything. So, well, for C0, if we want to try this, gives us 4 factorial over, well, 0 factorial, which is 1, times 4 minus 0 is 4 factorial, and these cross out, so you just get 1. So the third rule is a C0 is always just 1. So in summary, we have our 3 rules. A CB is equal to a C A minus B. Number 2 is anything C1 is just that anything. And anything C0 is just 1. So I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe for more, and have any questions or requests, please don't hesitate to say so in the comments. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.